So I want to just talk about some final words of advice. Um, Clearly, it goes without saying you need to gather the necessary information before you begin. You need to think about future events. Um, Confirm your trustees' willingness to act as trustee. Don't just assume that they're going to be trustee. I think this session has really articulated what huge responsibilities a trustee has and ensuring that they're really willing to act as trustee and that they've hopefully attended this webinar. And if not, they've actually had a chance to view it on your website in the future before they act. And maybe this will be, a resource that they utilize when you ask that question, will you be the trustee for my son or daughter's trust? But before you take on that role, perhaps you might want to just understand what it means to be a trustee. And then finally, again, and I reiterate this again and again to families, ensure that you're retaining a lawyer experienced in setting up these types of trusts, but also ensure that they are knowledgeable about BC benefits legislation and now even more so the federal legislation, and ask questions. Hopefully this session will provide you with a bit of a foundation to ensure that when you and your partners are looking at trustees, that you are asking the right questions, and you understand that acting as a trustee is a very significant role, and it's a big ask, and it's not one that you ask lightly, and that you ensure that your trustee feels comfortable in taking on that responsibility. There are a number of resources that are listed here. I would highly recommend them all as further sources of information. In fact, I just wrote an article that is on the plan website that talks about some of the issues around choosing a trustee, and I find that those resources are going to be very helpful. And then the last PowerPoint slide, of course, is that trust fund requisition sample that I referred to earlier, and it might be a good source for families that have already got a trustee as a vehicle for actually administering that trust fund. Angela, thank you. Thank you, Fernando. A great honor to present to everyone tonight, and thank you all for listening for just over 2 hours.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Ken. Again, your expertise is amazing, and this is a complicated topic, and you talk through it with such grace and ease, and so we very much appreciate you being on here, and thank you to Fernando, and thank you to CLS, Community Living Society, again, for giving us their lovely space. It's still daylight outside, so we can still see the great view. And thank you to everybody for joining us, and it will be available online again in its entirety and in pieces. Before we sign off, I see Fernando waving. I just want to make sure, is there any questions we have not answered?